Well, welcome back to Stuff in Excel. I'm Richard. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at how to delete and remove those pesky unwanted characters that sometimes show up in our Excel spreadsheets. Sometimes we download a file that's got excess characters in it. Sometimes we get data from a PDF and it leaves unwanted characters in there. There's just a lot of ways that these unwanted characters can show up, and we really want to get rid of them. So let's take a look at the file that we've got. You'll notice, and let's focus on column A. So in column A of this data file, and I'm going to highlight it so that we can sort of look at it. This is just so it makes it easier for us to see. I'm going to put it in green. Now, you'll notice that these are all telling us about products, and they're telling us about the product number. But they've got these extraneous characters. You notice that line A2, cell A2 and A4 have a hyphen between the product number and the product description. You'll also notice that every one of these has got an extra bunch of dots or periods over here at the end of this. This was probably originally put in to space it out so that you get everything lined up properly, but it's just a kind of messy looking, and it's really not part of the important text. It takes up valuable memory space, particularly if you had 20,000 lines of this. All those periods are going to take up a lot of space. So how do we get rid of them? We're going to go through a couple of steps here and look how we clean this data up a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a column so that we have some space to work with. So I'm going to insert a column in column B. Now we're eventually going to get rid of this column. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. This column is not going to stick around, but for now we're going to use it. So what I want to do over here in cell B2 is I want to use the substitute formula. The substitute formula is very simple. It's equals substitute. Nothing really magical about that. Now I'm going to hit Control A, and it's going to bring up my dialog box. Now I can use this dialog box. First thing it wants to know is what is the text that I'm wanting to work on. So that's going to be over in cell A2, so I'm going to click on that. Next it says, what is the old text that I want to get rid of? That's going to be the hyphen. So I'm just going to type in the hyphen. I don't have to do anything else. Down in the next thing, it says, what do I want to replace that hyphen with? And I'm going to want to replace it with a space. Now the way we identify that in Excel is we do two quotes with nothing in the middle. Quote, quote, and that's going to tell Excel that we want a space in there. So all we hit is OK, and it's going to eliminate that hyphen. Now I can copy that down, and you notice I got rid of all the hyphens. Next thing I'll do is I'll right-click on the edge of that highlighted area. I'll drag it to the left. I'll let it up, and I'll copy here as values only. Now I can get rid of what's in column B. Now I've still got the problem of having those dots in there. Those dots are just a pain in the neck. So how do I get rid of those? Same thing, we're going to go through equals, substitute, Control A. We want to work on cell A2, so we'll click there. Next, we want the old text we're going to get rid of is the period. So we just type a period in. The next thing we want to replace it with is a space. Shift, quote, quote. We end up with space. We hit OK, and you notice all those periods go away. We copy that down. We right-click on the left edge of the box, drag it to the left, let it up, copy here as values only. We can get rid of column B. Okay. Now, one thing though, if you notice this, I want you to notice this cell. If I click up in here and I start looking at big box, there's a space. Whoops. There's a space over here between big and box. That's good. There's actually two spaces between box and the product number. That's kind of strange, right? And also, if I go over here, there's spaces over here to the right. I'm not seeing them, but those spaces are there. Same thing with the next line. There's spaces. Look at that. There's spaces over there. Look up here to the upper left in the formula box. There's spaces to the right of that product number. Down here in small box, there's an extra space between box and the product number. And there are spaces over here to the right. I want to get rid of those spaces, so how do I do that? So let's reinsert a column, column B. And you notice when I do that, of course, it picks up the formatting from column A. So I'm going to now just highlight that again with the tan, just so we can see what we're working with. I'm going to do equals trim. Trim is an interesting function. It'll go out and take out every single extra space in the target cell area. My target cell is A2. I click on that. I just hit Enter. And all the extra spaces are gone. If I go and look, there's no extra spaces there. So I'm going to simply copy that down. Right-click on the left edge of the box, drag it to the left, let it up, copy here's values only. Now I want you to look. You notice all those moved. And in fact, when I click on these now, in that formula box, look, there's no extra spaces in there. So we've gotten rid of the extra characters, and we've gotten rid of those invisible spaces. Really helpful tool when you're trying to clean up your data.